Hi, welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to look at multidimensional arrays in Java. In the previous lecture, you've seen one-dimensional arrays, which can look like this, int square brackets. I'm going to create a one-dimensional array of integers. So I'm going to call this array one-dimensional array. Of course, you can choose shorter names to name these arrays. I'm going to say equals to 12, 49, 922. The reason why this is called one-dimensional array is that to specify the position of one item in this list, you only need one dimension. So I can say sysout, control space, one-dimensional array, square brackets, for example, 1. And I'm going to run this. So I got my second number in the list. I needed only one number or one dimension to specify the position of this item on the list. So instead, a multidimensional array needs two or more numbers or dimensions to specify the position of the items on the list. So let's look at an example of a two-dimensional array. Int, I'm gonna type 2 square brackets, and here I'm gonna say multidimensional array equals. So I've created a two-dimensional array, but you can go on and add square brackets to make it 3 or 4-dimensional array. You could do that as well. So the important thing to know here is that in an int one-dimensional array, each item on the list is an integer. However, a multidimensional array is an array of an array. So each item in a multidimensional array is an array itself. So I could easily have this array as an element on the list of our multidimensional array. So I will add another array. The interesting thing to add here is that you don't have to put the same length of the previous array. So you could make a shorter or a longer array. Or you could use the same length as well. So I'll make this the same length of the first one. What we should add here is the opening and closing curly braces for this arrays, and add a semicolon at the end. So for example, to refer to this item on this list, you should do something like this. So I'm gonna put here the name of this multidimensional array. I'm gonna open 2 square brackets. So the easiest way to remember this is that you will use the first square bracket to refer to the whole array. Choose the array that contains the item that you want to refer. For example, I want to output this number right here. As we already mentioned, we'll be counting from 0. So this is array 0, array 1, and array 2. So first, I'm gonna choose the array in the first square bracket. I'm gonna put here array 1, and now I'm gonna refer to the specific item. So again, we'll be counting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, and this will give us this number. So in the first square bracket, you refer to the whole array, and then you put the number of the position of the specific item on that array. So if we run this, we get here our chosen item, which is 12. So if I choose to output this number right here, so we count the arrays once again, 0, 1, 2, and now the items on this array, 0, 1. So 34 will be outputted on the console, as you can see right here. So instead of declaring and initializing a multidimensional array in one line, What I could also do is, for example, I will create a two-dimensional double array. I'm going to use the keyword new double. In the first square bracket, I'm going to choose how many arrays I want in this array. So I'm going to say 4. And then I will specify how many items will each array have. So I'm going to say 2. So this one would have 4 of these arrays with only 2 items. So you may wonder what would be the values of these items, and the answer is that Java is kind enough to give them default values. So this multidimensional array would have 4 arrays with 2 0.0s in each array, because 0.0 is default value of double. If this was of type string, we would have 4 arrays with 2 nulls in each of them. So I can output any item on this multidimensional array. So I will say sysout, control space, array. I'm gonna put here 2 and here 1. So as you can see, Java has given it a default 0.0 value. We said here that we want 4 arrays. However, as long as we've been counting from 0, the maximum number allowed here is 3. Because there will be 4 arrays, but we'll be counting from 0, so it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. There are 4 arrays, so you cannot do something like this, because the 5th array is not available. So if you do this, Java will throw an exception, which we will learn later on in this course. So the maximum number allowed here is 3, and the same applies to the second square bracket. The maximum number allowed here is 0 or 1. So another thing you can do with multidimensional array is omit the specification in the second square bracket. So here you will allocate a memory for 4 arrays. However, their length will not be specified, so you can specify it later. But do not forget that you cannot do otherwise. You cannot omit the first square bracket and do something like this. So this is not allowed. You can only omit the second square bracket. So you can give these default values, your value of course. So we can say array 3, 1 equals to 2.6. So now when we run this, 2.6 will be outputted on the console. And you can do the same with all the values you have declared right here. Now iterating through a multidimensional array, of course it's a little bit more complex than iterating in a one-dimensional array. So to iterate through a multidimensional array, we're going to use nested for loops. So nested for loops are basically for loops within for loops. So first we're going to iterate through arrays and then through their specific items. So here I'm going to initialize a int value. I'm going to say int array equals 0. Then I'm going to say array is less than multidimensional array. Dot length semicolon array plus plus. I'm gonna open curly brackets and here say 4. So I'm gonna declare another variable in here which must be different from this one. I'm gonna say item because with this for loop we're gonna iterate through items on the arrays. Then I'm gonna say item is less than So now which is the length that we want to iterate of the items? Because here we have 3 items and here we have 4 items. So we're gonna say array. So it depends from each array the length of the item it has. And we're gonna increase the item by 1 here as well. We're gonna open the curly braces once more. So now to output our multidimensional array, we can say sysout, control space, so we'll say multidimensional array. So we're gonna output array first. So then we're gonna output each item on the array. So what we could do here to make our output look nicer, we're gonna concatenate a tab character. So when each array is iterated, the other array will be printed in the next line. And we're also gonna delete the ln right here, because we don't want each item to be printed in the new line. We want one array to be printed in one line and the other one in the next line. So to make this happen, in the outer loop, not in the inner loop, I'm gonna say sysout and I'm gonna add a new line. So this will make each array to be printed in a next line. So before running this program, when we explained how to declare and not initialize the multidimensional array, this was another example, of course. We used the variable array. I need to change the name right here and here as well, because this was another example and will conflict with our iterating example right here. So the variable names should be different, and here as well. Now we can run the program. So now you can see that each array in our multidimensional array is printed in a new line. So here we have 12, 49, 922. Here we have our second array. And here is our last array. So this is how you can iterate through a multidimensional array. So this might be a lot of new information to absorb, and at first might seem very complex, but you can look at this code in the resources section and play around with it, change the values, and you will gradually get it. So that's about it for this lecture. Don't forget to practice a lot and see you in the next lecture.